What are you doing here? You want to learn how to mount some drawers into a cabinet? Well, follow me over to the table saw. Hey, I'm Jeff Devlin of Schoolhouse Woodworking. I'm a licensed contractor, woodworker. We named our company Schoolhouse Woodworking many, many years ago because the goal was to teach. Wow, that's nice. It's not always the perfect method, but it's a way that I've learned over the 30 years doing this that I believe sometimes simpler is better. Well, it actually worked. I didn't really need to go to the table saw, but I appreciate you coming along with me anyway. If you look right here at this cabinet we built, and we also built a drawer that slides in. However, the hardware that we have needs to mount on the inside of the cabinet, and there's nothing for it to mount to. Now, because the hardware is inset, what does inset mean? Means that this sits inside so that the face frame is flush with the outside of the cabinet. So it needs to sit right here. You notice there's a little gap right there. So what I need to do is start this process by cutting a block that is the thickness that I need. So I need to trim this block up on both sides. So I can do this if I want. Voila. Cut it on the table saw. So I'm going to set this to 5/8 of an inch. I'm only going to go through just a little past center. If you look really closely, you can find the pull stick and all of the crap. I like to do it this way because it's easy and it's safe-ish. Now I flip it over, and I do that last little bit on the bottom. Don't even attempt it if you're not going to use a push stick, because you'll lose your dang fingers, and you don't want to do that. So now I slide it in right on the side, and I notice that I still have a little bit more to kick off on this side, but I just want to check and make sure I'm good over here, and just a tickle more on this side. So I'll slice and dice. Instead of taking it over to the table saw, I'm probably just going to use my sander and clean it up real quick with 80 grit sandpaper. Let's give it a try. I think that will do. Perfect. So now I'm going to rip it on the table saw because I've got it the same thickness I want it, and then I'll tack this board once I split it in half, one to this side and one to this side. Sometimes you just got to slow down and enunciate. Voila. Slide it up into the cabinet like so. And then I'm just going to tack it in place. Voila. All right, so there are these little brackets that go on the back, and they help support the back. If you don't want to buy the brackets, they're only like $1 or $2. You can actually do the same thing in the back of the cabinet and just tack that same thickness that you put in the front in the back, and then you can tack your hardware nice and easy, and all is well with the world. One thing that's really important to have on this, in my opinion, is this right here, your combination square. Because I want to set these back to a certain point, and I want it to be the same on both sides. I set it back about a 1/16 to an 1/8. So I'm just going to draw a little line. Right there is where I want it. Now, because I don't like to fight gravity, I'm going to make gravity my friend, so to speak, because I'm going to sit here and try to mount this hardware, and look what's going to keep happening. It's going to fall back and down, and all hell will break loose. So I'm just going to pull the drawer slides out, and I'm going to transfer it over here. Voila. I can go there. Look at that. And now you can see it standing up. I can use gravity to my advantage. And I'll show you a nice little trick or tool that I like to use a lot. And that is right here. So I got this fancy drill that spins around. This is what's called a VIX bit. You can see it has almost like a countersink in it, if you will, but there's no drill. But there is a drill bit inside when you pull it out. So it basically, you center it, and that way you drill directly in the center of your mark. So it's really easy for me now, especially because I'm holding it up kind of high. I can place it in I know where my line is, and what you can do with the back brackets is pull them a little bit longer, and then slowly, hopefully, in a perfect world, it sits up a bit, right? And then you just slowly push it down to your mark, right? Where are you? Right there. I can hold it there with my thumb. I can use my Vicks bit now, come in at a weird ass angle, drill that hole. I'm gonna hold my thumb there. Voila, I got one in. Little noise, nobody died. So that's good. Everything's French. Now, you're gonna have to get down off your high horse and come over here. So, like I said before, you can come in here and measure, and I'm at like 9/16. Whatever this gap is off the side of your cabinet to the side of your hardware here is what you want. And in this case, I'm 9/16. I can't guarantee yours is gonna be the same. So I come down here, and I position this at 9/16. The hard part is trying to hold it and show you at the same time. I went right in the middle, so that way I can adjust it. So when I put this in, the screw in, see the way I can wiggle it back and forth a little bit? I'm not gonna go all the way in, I'm just gonna snug it. Just one screw, snug it, and then see if I have to adjust it, which I do just a little bit. There is a little play in the bracket itself, so you are a little safe in that category. So there's one screw, took that long. Voila. 9/16, 9/16. Before I flip it over, 4/8, 5/8, done. So before I get too carried away by putting a million screws in the back, I'm gonna check and get my drawer ready. We gotta drill some holes for this sucker. And to do that, because I don't wanna hurt the top of the cabinet, this is gonna be gross, but I have an old piece of carpet that I got out of someone's remodel that I just put on my tabletop. It's a nice color. So this way, I don't mar up the surface. So Blum gives you a couple of things to make your life a little easier in this process. They give you a jig to mount the plates here. These are the catches, and they mount up underneath, like so. So the jig itself they give you, you turn it on the side. They don't actually give it to you. You have to buy it. That's the fun of all woodworking. Everything costs money unless you make it yourself. So you could make one yourself or utilize what they have. All this does is help you locate those screws. So for me, I've got my screws right over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. I can install those on either side. You'll notice there's a flat part, and that's where you mount the hardware. You don't over crank them because then it'll make the thing twist a little bit. Just enough to hear it grab. And what these do is they allow for not only to catch the metal part of the slide, but it also allows you from some adjustability. So it allows you, if you look right here, now's a perfect opportunity to show you. If you spin these wheels, what it does is it shifts the drawer left or right. And if you use this right here, it pulls the drawer up or down in the opening. Because it's inset, it's nice to have a little bit of that adjustability, because that way, if you're off a little bit or if there's expansion and contraction, these things happen. So the way the hardware mounts wherever I left it, oh, it's actually in the cabinet, we have to cut out a notch in the back of the cabinet. Many cabinet manufacturers, when they're making this part of the drawer, they cut it out at that time. I don't think that it's that necessary. I just made this little block. It is the exact width of what I need to cut out. So I just put it on like this, and then I mark the other side. So you can see it's already that exact amount that I need to take off. And if you're asking what the thickness of it is, it looks like 1 3/16 inches. Hopefully I've been using that block for about 5-6 years now, so it works. So in this case, I'm just gonna grab my handy dandy, I'm wrapped around the carpet here, but my handy dandy flush cut bit. And I'm gonna drop the blade right down this line. Great. Now, because I like to be efficient, I always try to keep the orientation of the tool the same. Then I can change it, so I do both. And then I just lay it flat on the back. It might rattle when it goes in, and then that comes off like that. It looks more awkward than it is. Just keep it flush. And voila. So now you've cut out those holes really, or those notches really simply. You grab your other part of the jig and you stick in this little drill bit that has a stop. This is for the hook that's in the back of that drawer right here. It's this little pin, if you will, that locks in the back. You need to make a hole for that. Again, they give you the drill for this, or the jig for it. You just place it and you can see it fits over top here. You just have to make sure with this, you push it to the outside, not to the inside. So you push it to the outside and then just drill in the hole in the back. And find the hole. Again, it has the stop on it, so it only goes in so deep. So now in a perfect world, this fits and all is good and world peace is solved and all of that. We'll find out. It just sits right down. You want to make sure it's set. You should wait for the click. It's got to click on both sides, and it clicked on both sides. So now, yay, look at that. It's a nice touch, inset, and here's the best part. I want to cry every time I look at it, but watch. When you open up your drawer, you get that little surprise of black walnut. And when this is finished, you can see what it'll do on the side of the drawer when it's finished. It gives that really nice, deep, dark, high-end look. And it's inside of your cabinets. If you want to impress your wife, your husband, your spouse, your significant other, your brother, your sister, everything. I love the detail. When you open up that drawer, it's like, wow, that's nice. And then when you shut it, nice soft close.